Hello and welcome to Well Played. I'm your host Bluetongue from around Sydney, Australia. I'm also joined by our hosts from the hills. We have Harrow. How are you doing, Harrow?
Really well, thanks, Blue. I'm so happy that Blacklist is back. All hail James Spader.
All hail James Spader.
Thank you. I saw Batman vs Superman a second time with my brother and actually really liked it. I liked it a lot more the second time.
Why did you like it the second time?
I don't know, just because I stopped comparing it to, The Dark Knight, one of the greatest graphic novels ever written, and started seeing maybe what Snyder was going for.
Did you fall asleep through the middle 50% of the movie?
No, I actually sort of bought into the middle 50% because I think maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, but maybe to me what it was like was Zack Snyder was saying a conflict between Batman and Superman is inevitable because power corrupts and the herd mentality or the ignorant masses are not going to abide by this.
And one more question. Have you had a brain injury between now and last week?
It's not that. Look, I'm just calling it how I see it.
No, look, it wasn't a terrible movie. It just wasn't a good movie. And there were a lot of really fantastic moments, just not a coherent story. And if you walk in there expecting a lot of great moments, yeah, I actually quite enjoy it in that regard. I just don't enjoy it in the same way I enjoyed Nolan's Batmans. Batman?
Batman.
Don't know. Batman, I guess.
People.
So, yeah. I've also been reading Marvel Civil War in preparation for the movie next week. That's another behemoth of a book you've got me on, Bluetongue. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Got to say, though, I've been enjoying Black Panther and Runaways in this big Marvel crossover. I think I'm going to have to add those two titles to my to-read list at some point.
Cool. I have no... Yeah, okay, I assume it's a comic run that I'm unfamiliar with. Yeah. I don't know how...
Hang on, are these movies based on comics, are they?
I think so.
Wow, there you go.
From Gladesville, we have Bauxite. How are you doing, Bauxite?
I'm doing pretty well. I've been watching a lot of House of Cards with my wife. I've been playing a bit of Minecraft with my wife. And next week I'm going down to Melbourne with my wife.
With another woman. Oh, my goodness.
Yes, my auntie. So, no, we're actually spending a week with my aunt who lives in the Yarra Valley, and we're going to visit wineries and board game shops and cafes and a whole heap of other stuff, which should be amazing. So I'll have many things to report next week. I'm also really looking forward to Civil War, and we're going to see that on the Thursday afternoon on the day it comes out. So
that sounds fantastic. I'm sure you will enjoy it, because unfortunately the reality is that Melbourne is actually a more a congenial city to, transport and food and stuff. Alas. Sydney's still great, but yeah.
Yeah? I don't know. Getting around Sydney's pretty hard.
Yep.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I've been eagerly anticipating Civil War also. I've been watching all the trailers for that, and then, without any hesitation, watching the Suicide Squad trailers as well, which are really, really good. They are honestly the best trailers I can remember seeing, and I'm starting to worry about the quality of the movie in relation to the quality of the trailers. Like,
you think your expectations are too high already?
Maybe. Oh, so worrying. There are some great scenes in it, though, even from just the trailers, so, yeah. Surely it's got to be a good movie, right? Right?
Well, I understand that it's going to have both Batman and Superman in it.
Okay.
So it can't suck.
That's right, yeah.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Wonder Woman and Lex Luthor will turn up, and it turns out that all the people in the Suicide Squad's mums were named Martha.
Although, one thing I'm a little bit concerned about is the bling Joker. Do you know what I'm talking about, Harrow?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
I'm like, I don't remember the character being, super bling all the time. Or is that just my acquaintance with his more recent iterations?
No, I don't know of any blinged tattooed Jokers either.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, we'll see how that turns out. I'm sure Margot Robbie's going to make up for everything. It'll be great. I'm really looking forward to the Hearthstone update this week, which is going to be awesome. It's basically they're nerfing a whole bunch of cards, which really needed it and have for a long time, and releasing a new set of cards and completely mixing up the meta and stuff like that, and releasing a new sort of way to play the game that's, I don't know what the word is, less stale. It's been stale for a few months now, which is unfortunate. Since last BlizzCon, there hasn't really been anything worth going back to the game for. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, I've actually been playing a lot of Hearthstone over the last couple of weeks. I've got to rank... No, while I've been on my lunch break and at no other times at work. So... yeah, no, I've got to about rank 8 at my best, and then dropped to rank 12 at the moment. So, yeah.
Yep. I'm sitting on rank 11, and I encountered today a Reno Hunter. That is not a particularly common deck archetype. I was not expecting him to play that card, and it was more than a little frustrating. Given I was
I can imagine. I hate Reno.
Yeah.
They really have been pushing the meta towards long games, and that's okay. I can understand why they want to do that. But I really like short, snappy games where, I kill the opponent before they get a chance to get their engine running. So
yeah, I'm very much inclined to agree. It makes it that much harder to fit in snappy games and get the thing over and done with. Because, it's that much more irritating to lose a game that's just taking you half an hour to play.
Yeah. There's actually been some interesting analytics done. I've looked at the Hearthstone subreddit, and apparently the average game time has increased over the last couple of years. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah. So in addition to that, I've also been planning my trip to Europe. I'm really excited to be doing that at the end of May, and we'll be going around London, up to Scotland, down to France, up through Northern Europe as well, Finland and Norway and all that sort of area. It's going to be really exciting. It's going to be cool.
When's your trip?
Don't tell us. Just let us know, like, an hour before you can't make the podcast.
It's at the end of May, and I'm going to be gone for most of June, so yeah.
Very nice.
It's going to be good fun. I'll bring you back gifts, I'm sure.
Yay!
Alright. So, Bauxite, do you want to tell us what we'll be talking about this week?
So, we're actually discussing Redshirts. Redshirts is a book by John Scalzi, which was released in 2012. I've listened to the audiobook on Audible, who is not a sponsor for the show, but hey, Audible, if you'd like to be, please let us know. So, Redshirts is about Ensign Andrew Dahl, who's newly assigned to the flagship of the Universal Union. However, upon receiving the dubious honor of working with senior officers of the ship on away missions, he realizes that as a low-ranking crew member, he is almost certainly going to be killed on one of these missions because, as he and the other ensigns notice, every away mission, at least one crew member dies, and it's never one of the senior officers. And they always seem to die in the most horrific and dramatic way possible. And they sort of figure out that these away missions follow these bizarre rules. So there's always like this huge amount of drama around it, and people start acting in really weird ways. So the crew of the Intrepid has become very superstitious and fearful about getting involved in these away missions. The ensign, Andrew Dahl, and his other ensign friends get to know Lieutenant Kerensky, who seems to be the sacrificial lamb a little bit away on these away missions. He's constantly getting infected with diseases and having limbs, cut off and being really badly hurt. But he'll be fine a few days later through some miraculous technological achievement at the very last minute that totally saves his life and stops him being dissolved into a puddle of goo by some alien slime mold. And then he's, running around and on his next away mission within a week. So the ensigns figure out that they're effectively the Redshirts, like on a sci-fi series, and they need to do something about that. So without going into too many spoilers here, we'll just sort of leave the plot summary there, but it's basically a mix of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead mixed with, say, Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
So, what did you guys think of it?
I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time with it. That said, I've also grown up with Star Trek and grown up with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead too. So I've got, all the prerequisite novel reading and what have you.
Yeah, I seem to remember a super awkward picture of your parents and your dad's wearing like Vegemite blackface as Lieutenant Worf.
No, you're actually thinking of my wife's parents. My father.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
My father was dressed up as Riker, and my mother was Dr. Crusher, and my wife's parents were both Worf and Guinan.
Yeah.
They were doing some role playing. At least that's what they told me. All right. Yeah. So my mother mainly is a huge Trekkie. She used to watch the original series, and that's actually where the term originates as well. So the Redshirts on away missions used to be the security personnel that would accompany the senior officers, and they were forever getting killed on the original Star Trek series. Now, if you're only familiar with Next Generation, like me, you'll be aware that the red is actually referring to officers in the Next Generation, so captains and admirals and stuff like that were in red. Security personnel were actually this limey, greeny, browny colour that was shared with engineering. And those were the guys getting killed on all the Next Generation episodes. So, yeah, that's where the origin of the term comes from, and it can be a little confusing for the people who have watched many series of the more recent variety.
Yeah, I remember, was it Lieutenant Yar getting famously killed at the end of Season 1 of Next Generation?
Oh, yes.
Man, that was terrible, because she wasn't a nothing character. She was
she was chief of
serious
security.
Character. Yeah.
The chief of the Redshirts, if you will.
Yeah, and she got redshirted so hard, it was like, oh, you're dead.
Yeah, it was a very arbitrary death. They didn't really work up to it at all. It was almost like the Next Generation was kind of in its infancy in developing those characters and stuff. But spoilers, she does come back.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yeah. Anyway, back to Redshirts, the book.
Yes. Harrow, how did you like it?
I enjoyed it a lot, actually. I laughed. Some of it made me laugh myself silly. I love the the cynical look on all the good sci-fi. That I'm not a big Trekkie, but I am a big Stargate fan, and even I can appreciate all the slams they're taking on Stargate in this book. I loved just how meta it was when they had Jenkins having to explain it to them in really simple terms, what the hell's going on, and they still can't wrap their heads around it. So yeah, I really enjoyed the book. Had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, it is really a lot of fun, and it's not overly dramatic and that sort of thing, except where it's just making fun of that sort of element of sci-fi. So yeah, it's all about the comedy, and it's all about the amusing story and the experiences that they have. Probably my favorite scene from the book is when the main character gets two other random plebs taken down on a mission with him, and they're all just giving him death stares all the way down to the planet and just swearing at him and stuff like that. Because it's essentially a death sentence for them.
Yeah, they know that someone's going to die on this mission, and
Yep. We'll leave it there.
Yep.
Would you believe it's not the main character? Mind blown.
I do love the part about, the door's locked, how do we get through? I got an idea, we'll shoot the panel. How on earth will that make the door open? And surely enough, because it's sci-fi television, it makes the door open.
Yeah. Good times. Bauxite, did you have a favourite scene from the book? What was your...
Yeah, there's this one time when basically the main character gets dissolved a little bit by alien venom or whatever. But he survives, spoilers, because it turns out he was needed his blood in order to cure someone else who actually mattered to the plot of the TV show. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I did like that one. You're lucky to be alive. No, that's not it. My favorite part's got to be about when they have to when he's got to make what was it? Not an antivirus, a countervirus or something they just made up, and they got to make this thing up in 6 hours. So they use the box. It has no name. They don't know where it comes from. It's just the box, or the plot device box. And yeah, it solves all your problems in the amount of time that the story would allow. And the part sorry.
Now this person's going to die in 6 hours, so, the box spits out its message at, 5 hours and 56 minutes. Just enough time for you to run up to the bridge and go, Captain, we've almost got it! But,
That was so good. I just love it. How can you accept this? You're scientists. We effing hate this thing, but it works.
We have to use it. We have no choice.
Because the thing that really resonated with me is last week when we were doing our less than glowing review of Batman v Superman, there was a whole bunch of stuff about mother boxes that I didn't end up talking about, just didn't come up, ran out of time. And yeah, a mother box is like the DC equivalent of the box from this thing. It's the plot device. It does whatever the plot needs you to do, and I just found the whole thing hilarious.
One of my favorite scenes is they go in detail about how everyone seems to be like disappearing from the vicinity of the officers when they walk around the ship. And then they realize later that people are like hiding in broom closets, and they're like hiding under desks and everything else just to avoid the attention of the officer in case they get taken on an away mission. It's hilarious. It actually reminds me a lot. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Next Generation, but there's an episode called Lower Decks.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I watched that episode immediately after finishing the book this week, and I was like, yeah, this is so cool. That episode is, here's a bunch of low-ranking people who are on the ship who'd appear in, like, the background of a scene and, fall down when a panel explodes in their face. And it's like their story about how they want to get noticed by the officers and they want to get promoted, but Riker's not the most approachable person, and it just sort of covers what life is like on the ship if you're not one of the top, 6 starring cast members. So.
Yeah. And it really ironically ends with one of those characters getting killed.
Yeah, but it advances the plot and...
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I did like that whole thing when they were in the space battle and the main character's got the mental checklist of what an episodic space battle involves. Evasive maneuvers. The ship does that automatically, just saying. Yeah. The damage will also always be isolated at decks 9 through 12 because that's what they have sets for.
It's like 10 minutes into the battle, a panel will explode. 3, 2, 1. Yep, panel explodes. Boom.
I love it when they like retrospectively look at the panel and they're like, man, we just keep having like these power shortages. What is with the electronics on this bridge?
Why do the inertial dampeners keep failing during combat?
We should really get someone from electrics up here to put some sort of fuses or something in. There's no reason we should have a panel explode every time there's a space battle.
This is really dangerous. Come on, guys.
I really actually like the bits where one of the main characters will be in the grip of the narrative and be like, damn it, man, we've only got an hour before blah, 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 blah. Okay, so could you go do that now? Cheers, thanks.
Yeah, and then when the narrative leaves the person, it's almost like they're possessed. And when it leaves them, they suddenly just become like a normal, regular captain, just scratching their heads over things they've done and questionable decisions that they've made.
I do like the part As I was saying, big Stargate fan, how they talk about Kerensky's the guy that's always getting shot and hurt and everything else. I'm like, yeah. For any of you that have watched Stargate, you probably remember Sergeant Siler. I think the guy's name was Dan Shea, and he was the show's stunt coordinator. So he was the guy going downstairs, being thrown into walls, getting doors closed on him, getting hit in the face. So yeah, whenever Kerensky was in the book, that's who I was picturing in my head, was the poor bastard Sergeant Siler.
Yeah.
One of the other funniest parts in retrospect is I was listening on my Audible account on the bus, and there's one character, Duval, who is ex-military, and she explained how the military favor system works. I had headphones on in a crowded bus, and it was really awkward when she was describing how, yeah, the terminology and what it means when you owe someone a favor.
I don't understand what you're referring to. Could you be...
Good. Ask your parents.
I'm reminded of the times I'd watch Game of Thrones on the train with some person who was clearly elderly and not familiar with Game of Thrones sitting next to me and turning slightly sideways and putting the screen at a bit of an angle.
And then just going, it's okay, they're brother and sister.
Any other highlights or favourite parts for you guys?
Look, I actually like the last maybe third of the book where it starts getting very meta and recursive. I'm not going to really go into too much detail about that because I think that is actually going to spoil the book a bit, but the layers and layers that sort of build up on it, and especially the appendices, I really enjoyed those. Just having a bit of a different perspective on some of the events was really interesting. And it's something that Scalzi does a lot. He did it in a book called Lock-In. He did it a little bit in
reading.
Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty solid book as well. A lot of his other work I've read.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed those. It was probably about another 20% on top of the total book was just appendices from other characters' perceptions on how they had events in the book happen to them. It's almost a bit like an epilogue, but it's quite substantial. So, yeah.
I really liked the story for its the way that he drove the narrative and how he walked this fine line between it being too heavy and too depressing and really lighthearted and humorful and ironic in the way it was presented.
Yeah, he definitely sometimes he would hang a lantern on it, which is basically drawing attention to how, you know what I'm doing here, and I know you know what I'm doing here, and the characters know what's going on here, and we all know what's going on here, and isn't it interesting? And I'm just going to point that out. That was super interesting. I really like that.
What I think would have been better, those two coders or appendices at the end, they should have switched them, because I like the first one because it's from the perspective of the without spoilers. The first one's funny. The second one is more not funny and slightly depressing. If they had switched them around so it ended with the funny stuff, I think it would have, left a better taste in my mouth, as it were. So that's an interesting point. I didn't find the second one depressing so much as poignant, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't find it quite as depressing either. I thought it was I tied up the story in a fairly neat way that I liked.
It definitely wasn't an uptick. It wasn't a downer either. It was a little flat, but.
So would you agree? Maybe swap them round. Listen to the second one before the first one.
Jeez, I don't know. Maybe. I don't think so. I'm happy with the way it's presented.
Okay.
Even the very last final scene is very much on par with the way the rest of the book is presented, kind of thing, and it sets a yet another ironic sunsetting scene for nothing, if no other way to describe it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Well,
Yes,
The
it ends with a
sunsets,
sunset.
mind blown.
Well, no, it really is the characters riding off into the sunset. So
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe, yeah, that's a good point. I think the only bad thing I'm going to take away from this story is, Bluetongue, you've been on my back for since we started this podcast that I need to be watching Dark Matter,
Oh yeah.
and now that I've read this book, I'm scared I'm going to go into this new sci-fi series being completely cynical of it.
that's entirely possible.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
to a certain degree, but the crew is only the main characters on Dark Matter, so take from that what you will.
Dark Matter's a lot less Star Trek and a lot more Firefly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no red shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
Not exactly in the same way, no. There are people who needlessly die for the point of drama, but they're not red shirts.
No.
They're security personnel.
Well, I mean, come on, this trope of having the meaningless person die in the first 5 minutes of the show to, show, hey, there's some real,
Danger to this. Yeah.
there's some real stakes. That's something that everything does. It's on the blacklist. It's on every TV show has a meaningless pleb die in the first 5 minutes. You go, oh no, it's death. Maybe one of the main characters will die. Oh look, it means they're almost dying for some reason. Oh no, they're fine. Then I feel relieved.
No, you're being. I think that's maybe this is the fanboy in me, but I think that's a bit unfair with Blacklist because he's hunting assassins. So yes, you're going to see the assassin do their thing at the beginning. That gets a pass in my book. But yes, you're right about, say, in Stargate, when some Goa'uld's got this virus or new weapon and some poor schmuck's been on the brunt end of it, and you're like, oh no, how dangerous is this thing?
Yeah, look, I mean, Stargate was very much like, oh, what happened to SG-6? Oh, they all got a virus and died. Okay,
Yeah.
What about
SG-10?
Oh,
They got blown up.
They got,
It was terrible. It was terrible.
Shot out of the sky. They got out of the Stargate, and the Stargate exploded into a black hole, which transferred them through a time dimension. Oh, okay.
Very much. If you're not an SG-1, there is problems.
This is throwing me back to some of the older school James Bond movies and James Bond books, because the other double O's were the red shirts. Like, so where did MI6 get their intelligence? Oh, 008 died getting us this information. And so, yeah, they're not even, half the time they're not even shown killed. They're just, dying to give James Bond the information and plot device he needs.
Like many boffins died to get us this information.
Yeah.
I read an interesting, funny thing the other day. Bothans aren't going to be in the new Star Wars Rebel. What's it called?
No, well, Rogue One.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they actually only died getting the plans for the second Death Star.
Yes.
That's right.
And this is getting the plans for the first Death Star. Cool.
Yeah. And really jumped the shark, didn't they?
Well,
I mean,
yeah, but this was before
what's the...
sequelitis.
He called it Episode 4. Come on.
No, he didn't. He didn't call. That was retconned in a later release.
Really?
That was his first. The cinematic release did not have Episode 4 in New Hope. He put that in, like, even after home release VHS. That was in one of his. That was like one of the very first special editions or re-releases that came out.
Oh.
It was definitely It was definitely before the Christmas special happened, because that was released as Episode 4.5.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I know.
It was canon for a whole night.
Sorry?
That was canon for a whole night.
Yeah.
For those of you who would appreciate yet another layer of irony on this book, it's actually read by Will Wheaton from Star Trek Next Generation, who plays Wesley Crusher, and ably so. I think he does a pretty good job for it. What do you guys reckon?
Will Wheaton did a really, really good job, and the second book I listened to on the Audible account that I totally own was Tales of Earthsea, and going from Will Wheaton, really great narration for Redshirts, to some barely alive old man for Tales of Earthsea, yeah, it makes you appreciate the good job that he did in the audiobook version.
Hmm.
Yeah, Will Wheaton also read Ernest Cline's Ready Player One, and Will Wheaton has read a lot of other John Scalzi books as well. So
Will Wheaton is referenced in Ready Player One.
Yeah, I know, right?
What is he, like the representative of the rights of the people inside the actual hologram matrix thing?
Yeah.
Yep. That is funny. Cool. I don't know what else there is to say about this novel. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Apparently they're making a TV series out of it.
A TV series? Really?
Apparently, or it's been optioned for one. I don't know if they're doing it.
That'd be interesting. I think it's probably a bit meta for a general audience. I don't think it would be received very well.
It might be doable in terms of like just like a one-off series kind of thing.
Yes.
So, like maybe 1 or 2 seasons and that's it, and that's the entire series.
I'd just even say 1 season and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to string this out more than 1 season, but you don't really see that happen very often. People get their, studio executives or whatever decide, hey, this was good, it made money, let's string it out some more. It's like, no, the story's over. No, we want a 2nd season. It's like, but it's done. You'll only ruin it. No, 2 seasons!
Oh, Anubis, why could you not be the climax?
I think it was the MTV Movie Awards years ago. They did this very thing with The Lord of the Rings. So Return of the Kings won all these Academy Awards, made all this money, and then they do the thing where the executive's like, yep, Peter Jackson, excellent job. We want you to make another one. We need another Lord of the Rings movie. He's like, but the story's finished. The ring's destroyed. and the executives, look, I found another ring. Who gives a shit? Just make the movie. We need to make more money. and then I love Peter Jackson says, but there was only 3 books. The books are over. And things was, books. Only nerds and people in book clubs have read the books, Peter. Just make more movies.
And then he made The Hobbit into 3 movies.
And then he made The Hobbit in 3 parts.
Oh.
I could have lived with 2 parts, but 3 was just stupid.
Yeah.
You could have done it in 1. It's not a long book. You can read it in a day.
Yeah, that's true, but I would still want the Battle of 5 Armies to get its due. That's why I say 2 books. They're 2 movies.
Yeah, okay. They're already like 3 hours long, dude.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying my personal opinion. I would have liked Hobbit in 2 parts.
Yeah, okay.
Alright, so you might like this novel if you like things like Star Trek, obviously, because, we've just spent the last half hour talking about Star Trek and Star Trek references. And that almost relates to any sci-fi series, so we've got like Firefly and Stargate and that sort of thing. For those of you who don't really have a sci-fi background and aren't really into that sort of thing, there's a movie starring Will Ferrell, which I highly recommend, called Stranger Than Fiction. Have you guys seen that?
Yes. That was a good movie.
It was a fantastic movie.
Weird romantic comedy, but yeah, good.
Yeah, exactly. Really interesting story. A bit meta. It sort of takes a step back, and then the author is starting to lose the plot a bit when they write themselves into a story, and that unfortunately happens in that one. But it feels very similar to that in its premise.
You might also like this if you've liked Adaptation with Nicolas Cage. Very similar sort of thing to Stranger Than Fiction. There was a terrible Sam Neill movie from like the 90s called In the Mouth of Madness. Weird horror thing. Really weird. But if you happen to like that obscure movie from, 20 years ago, you might like this. If you're a fan of things like Douglas Adams, this is another very good thing. I would say that Scalzi's writing style is similar to Ernest Cline's, but a lot snappier. Ernest Cline tends to spend, 45 pages talking about who directed, War Games, and how Matthew Broderick was exactly 17 and 8 months when he recorded that film. But this is a lot snappier and, moves a lot faster.
Yeah.
But very similar writing style.
Yeah, very along the lines of Terry Pratchett. It's a very Terry Pratchett-esque kind of novel. And while it doesn't have the, I don't know what you'd call it, excessive sequels problem, this does have that real ironic and black humor, jaded kind of tone to it that comes with Terry Pratchett kind of territory.
Yeah, Scalzi has written a couple of series. One I'm reading at the moment called Old Man's War, which is basically old people, when they hit 75, enlist in the army and get shiny new bodies and fight aliens. So, again, another sci-fi novel, which is typically what he seems to do. But, not all of his books are set in the same universe like Pratchett. So every time it's a fresh start.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, when I was at school, I did Hamlet during my HSC, which was fine. Would you believe there are a lot of people get killed in Hamlet? But
my favourite bit is when Mufasa dies.
But two of the lesser-known characters that get killed in Hamlet are characters by the names of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. And they are just one obscure one-line reference that get killed off in Hamlet. They're just a pair of messages.
They're killed off screen.
Yes. Not even on the stage. They just get killed. And it's just spoken about. It's extremely briefly. And a guy named Tom Stoppard has written a play called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead, which is a very, very similar kind of take on this whole taking minor characters out of a novel and turn them into their own story and writing them into the overall story in a really interesting and creative way. It's a really thoroughly enjoyable play. It can be a little bit slow going in reading though. He has a very dense, witty. He's very sharp. You just get that note of. It's almost difficult to follow if you've not got your mind 100% switched on kind of thing. So, yeah, less intense than that, but still very similar in sort of theme and plot. What's Moving Pictures about?
Oh, it's another... Yes.
Okay.
It's about the invention of moving pictures, so celluloid, and then... Holy wood is then thrown up really quickly to start producing these things in mass, and it's a big. It's really having a stab at how storytelling's done and movies are made, and the studio system and stuff like that, and realizing the characters you're portraying are actually coming to life, and yeah, it's not amongst my favorite Terry Pratchett books, but there's a lot of meta in that particular story.
Yeah, cool. It sounds very interesting. All right, so Redshirts published back in June 2012 by Tor Books. You can find it by John Scalzi, and it goes for all of $13 Australian, which is really not that much of an investment for what is a lot of fun. That said, I don't think you'll necessarily appreciate it if you don't have that background in Star Trek and sci-fi. It's still probably enjoyable, but there's just a whole lot of in-jokes and irony and stuff like that that goes into the story that might go over your head if you're not already a fan.
Okay, so just a reminder to our listeners, we're running a competition for 2 double passes to Looking for Gamers, aka LFG, which is Sydney's newest and largest tabletop gaming event. So it's an offshoot of the Toy and Games Expo, which filled the Dome at Sydney Olympic Park from 2012 to 2014. Thoroughly enjoyable. Harrow and I went a couple of years ago. Bluetongue, you joined me once. It was a lot of fun. These guys know what they're doing, and LFG is going to be a fantastic day for Eurogamers, hardcore wargamers, role players, and also anyone who's just interested in the hobby at all. So first timers and families are going to have a great time too. LFG will be at Bankstown Sports Club on the weekend of the 9th and 10th of July. If you check out our Twitter, we're having a bit of a competition around the Codenames game. The clue is Adventure 8. Basically, go listen to our Codenames episode to hear how to play the game, or if you already know how to play, check out the clue we've put up on Twitter. Have a look at the Codenames board, and the people who get the highest numbers of correct answers will win a double pass to Looking for Gamers. So reply to the tweet with the hashtag WellPlayed, the number 4, LFG. I'll look forward to seeing your replies.
Yeah, good times.
So this has been Well Played. Thanks for joining us this week. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves as much as we have. You can catch us on Twitter at WellPlayedAU, which is where we're doing the competition, just so you know. You can send us questions, comments, or abuse at wellplayed@gmail.com. And if you like us, please leave us a 5-star review or a comment or a like or whatever it is on iTunes or YouTube or wherever you're listening to us. We really appreciate it. And it helps us get the show out to more people, which means we can make better shows and more people can hear this crap. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
See you later.